So we've all heard it before, right? The idea that limiting beliefs are what is stopping us from manifesting. And if you've been in this community for a while, then you've probably already delved into this. You heard about limiting beliefs and you heard about how they can prevent you from manifesting because of your subconscious mind and how our subconscious rules our reality. And so you started journaling on your beliefs and you started doing meditations. You started doing robotic affirmations, or maybe you listened to affirmation tracks while you sleep. Maybe you did stats or something similar. But at this point, it's been months or possibly even years, and you are yet to see any results. Don't worry, you're not doing anything wrong. It's not that you're not believing hard enough or that you're affirming wrong. It's that there needs to be a deeper understanding of how limiting beliefs actually work, how the subconscious mind actually works, and just being a bit more patient with yourself. Because I think in a world where instant manifestation is considered the norm, and manifesting something within 24 hours is common clickbait in this community. People expect to start saying a few affirmations and rewrite their childhood trauma in a few hours. And while yes, the brain has neuroplasticity, it can change. It doesn't change through doing something once or even twice. It's like how when you work out, you don't work out once and then expect all of your results to happen instantly. There needs to be consistency and there needs to be repetition over time. And with limiting beliefs, what actually will change them is not just repetition, but also evidence. And we'll get into that later. So if the idea of limiting beliefs and how to change limiting beliefs has become quite confusing for you, keep watching because this video is exactly for you. So let's start by talking about limiting beliefs in themselves. A limiting belief is a set of ideas and thought patterns that show up in relation to a circumstance, a stimulus, a person, a situation, whatever, that are self-limiting in some kind of way. This can look very different depending on the area of life you're talking about, but this is a common reason that people give why you can't manifest something, because you're kind of blocking yourself in a way. And yes, there is truth to that. Some people do have very negative beliefs that stop them from reaching goals, but people tend to have this idea of limiting beliefs that the reason they block you from manifesting is like magical in some kind of way, or it's to do with energy. And while it can be, I'm not saying that that's completely false. What's more likely is that your limiting beliefs are blocking you in an action and behavior way. It's a very practical, real world way that you are blocking and limiting yourself. This can show up in many different ways. But the main ways that limiting beliefs can block your manifestations is that it can change how you show up for others. It can change how you approach people, how you talk to people, how you show up, your demeanor, your openness, your vibes, your expression, how confident you are. If you don't believe that you belong in a room with certain people, then you are going to subconsciously behave that way. And it can stop you from approaching certain people, or it can make you sound unconfident and unsure of yourself when you speak. And from a psychological, sociological perspective, that can make people not want to talk to you or not want to work with you. It can also affect the amount of effort that you're willing to put in. And this is why a lot of people end up procrastinating, is because they're giving themselves reasons not to do the thing that they know they need to do. I talked all about action and taking action in my last video, so check that out for more info. But doing the actual work and being consistent, doing the needle moving activities, when you have limiting beliefs, it can feel like you're running a marathon and you can find yourself making excuses or doing other things or time running away with you. Similarly, taking opportunities. If you have negative beliefs about yourself or about the world, you're less likely to take opportunities presented to you. You might not take a risk or go for something. You might not be willing to put yourself out there or even start what you want to start. And it usually stems from fear, but that fear will have you doing everything but the thing you want to do. It can also affect what you even notice. It can stop you from capitalizing on an opportunity because you physically cannot perceive that it's an opportunity. You can convince yourself that, oh, people like me don't do that, before you've even considered it. It affects your self-trust as well. If you've always told yourself that you're going to do things and then you don't, that affects how you view yourself with your follow-through. And again, these are all nervous system strategies. I talk about this in another video too. I will link that as well. But here's the kicker, right? You can have limiting beliefs and still end up being successful. A lot of people have limiting beliefs. Very rich, very successful people, they still sometimes experience self-doubt or procrastination. But a limiting belief becomes a problem when it physically stops you from doing something, because action is very important. And I mentioned this in my previous video as well, but people miss the action part of manifesting a lot because they're constantly told that they don't need to do anything. But here's the caveat. When something is unfolding, when something is in the series of events and it's not yet in your field or it's not yet within your control, that's when you don't have to do anything. That's when you have trust and have belief in the inevitability of what you want. However, when an opportunity presents itself, you learn more information or you get the inspired action, you do actually need to take that action in that moment. I've seen so many videos on here where manifestation gurus will tell success stories and say that they didn't need to do anything to manifest something. And then they tell a story where they were given an opportunity and they took it. That is taking action. Action doesn't have to feel stressful or hard or complicated, but it is action. When it comes to limiting beliefs, what matters more than anything is mindset. And mindset is different to your beliefs. Mindset is how you respond to or interpret things. It's your reaction to life. You don't need to be perfectly healed, and you don't need to heal every single limited belief that you have, because I don't think we can ever be aware of all of them. But having a generally positive outlook on life is only ever going to do you good. So if you find yourself naturally defaulting to the negative story or the negative belief, how do you actually change that? Well, let's make this practical, because a lot of people say change your mindset, change your life, but they don't actually give advice on how to do that. They just tell you to affirm, and I say this all the time, but affirmations alone are always just going to make your brain fight back. So when you get a limiting belief, when you are faced with a situation and you get that thought pop into your head, you need to ask yourself, is this based on truth, or is it an assumption I'm making? Is it actually true? Is there evidence? And write down on a piece of paper, if you have to, all of the evidence that it's true. But most of the time, it's not true. It's something that we're basing off of one or maybe two experiences in the past. But even if it is based on a string of continuous events, there's always going to be an example of a time where it was not true. So if there's evidence that it's not true, then that belief is false because it's not absolute. And you can write out as well the times when that has been not true, the times where it has worked out, the time where you did get that opportunity, the time where you did get that money, the time where someone did love you back, whatever it is. You don't need to flip every single thought you have because that's exhausting, but just focus on the ones that are the most common or the ones that are kind of the biggest problem with whatever you're trying to manifest, whatever is the manifestation that you've had the most trouble with. Because I can almost guarantee you that through each thing that you've struggled to manifest, each area of your life that has been difficult for you, there is probably a through line. There's probably something that is connecting those beliefs underneath. Most of the time it's fear. So again, you can identify what that is and ask yourself, is this actually true? And 9 times out of 10, or actually 10 times out of 10, it's not true. The thing with this exercise is I don't want you to do this while you are currently feeling very emotionally activated, because your emotions can really cloud your judgment. If you are currently really upset about something not working out, then in the moment, if you're trying to think of times where the opposite has happened and things have worked out for you, your brain is just going to be like, no, it's never worked out. Everything's bad. Everything's awful. And you're not going to be able to think clearly. So like I say, let your emotions pass. Let that passion, let that fire burn itself through. And once you feel better, then you can do this exercise. Do some regulation, do some breath work, do some qigong, whatever it is you want to do. So changing your limiting beliefs, while it is useful and it will make your life easier in the long run, it is not technically essential to get your manifestations. Like I said earlier, repetition is really important here, because yes, you can do this activity and you can flip it and you can say, well, it's actually not true because of this and this and this, but doing this exercise once probably won't be enough to convince your brain that it's not actually true. That's not to say that you need to do this exercise all the time. Just remind yourself, no, that's not true. We've definitely had instances of things working out. We've definitely had periods of time where we've been good with money. We've had times where we've been able to get good grades. We are lovable, whatever it is. But this is a practice. This is something that you'll need to adopt. Because if you're changing your mindset, this is something that you're going to have for ideally the rest of your life. And life will hand you circumstances where that does not feel true. The other aspect of this is evidence. You need to find evidence of the opposite to this limiting belief in your life. Like I said, you need to write out times where it has not been true, times where you did have money, you were lovable. As you do this, as the days pass, look for evidence of it. Use that reticular activating system to your advantage. New evidence and experience is what will alter that belief. It doesn't come down to willpower. It never does. When you wake up, you can take a mental note or say it out loud. I have really good luck. And then as you go about your day, as you go about your week, jot down all the times where something lucky happened. And the more evidence you build up of this new belief, the more your brain and your nervous system will accept it. But the nervous system especially needs reciprocity. It needs to know that the effort that you're putting out is getting you something back. If you have gone long periods of time where you've been putting in the work and you're not getting anything back, that leads your nervous system to go into hyper defensive mode. It's not doing it to hurt you, it's doing it to protect you. Trying to disarm an activated nervous system with more affirmations it doesn't believe won't get you very far. But if we challenge these beliefs and we give it evidence, over time, with consistency, you can start to think differently. There might be a messy middle in there. There might be some times where you don't believe it, where the world tries you. It's okay. Feel your feelings. Let yourself think negatively for a while if you need to. Once you feel better, get back to it. Okay, I hope you guys like this video. I hope you get what I'm saying. Please leave me a comment and tell me your experience with this kind of thing, if you've tried this more CBT style approach before, and maybe tell me some success stories. Please give the video a like if you enjoyed, subscribe to my YouTube channel, and I shall see you in my next one. Bye.